615 thousandths, and you guys got 665 thousandths. So we're pretty close, but we need to double check, okay? All right, so that'll be a challenge for them to work out tomorrow.
Okay.
We're gonna look at one other that was our favorite mistake. So we're gonna move over here. I love favorite mistakes.
We're sitting on something. First class dating. Kneel down.
It's okay. Yes, you are.
Okay, girls. Are you ready? You didn't?
Yeah, I think
Okay,
so.
so tell us what you guys did and walk us through it.
Okay, so we did 10 holes, and then right there. So we did 51 hundredths. Then we multiplied that by 0 and 4/10, and we forgot in the beginning that if you're multiplying that it would be less, but we thought it was more, so we estimated 12. So we made a mistake in the beginning because we thought we were multiplying 4 times 10, which is 40. Right, but 40 holes. But we really weren't, because these are really 0.4. These.
So your estimate, you were saying of close to 40, right?
So our estimate was 12.
Okay.
And
Yes.
then we thought it was 4. This was a hole, but it's really 0.4 times 10. Yeah. Which is 4 holes. So
How did you check that?
because 0.4 times 10 is 4 holes, because if you look at it 0.4 times 10, it wouldn't be 40, because then you'd have to have a whole number.
Okay.
So it would it's like multiplying, you move the decimal point to the right, so it would just move over one, and there, so it would be like 0.4, and then the decimal point would move over.
So what in your
So-
brain said 40 couldn't be right?
Yeah.
That's the part I want you to talk about.
Yeah.
How looking at your model, when you came up with 40, did you absolutely know that that wasn't reasonable?
Because we then knew that it would have to be less than 10, and
10.
it was like multiplying this times this in the front instead, so you would swap the 0 and the 4 instead of like this.
What would you guys say is a reasonable ballpark if you're working with numbers between 0.3 and 0.6 or 0.7? Between 3/10 and 6/10? What could you use as a ballpark to do your estimates? What's a really easy one to work with?
What do you mean by that?
Well, do you want to multiply by 4/10 in your head? No. Estimate. The point of estimating, and this is a big thing, the point of estimating is to give you what's a close answer. So what is a number close to 4/10 that's going to be easier to work with?
Close to like 0.5.
5, right. So 5/10 or half is a really good ballpark number if you're working with smaller numbers. What's about half of 10, everybody? 5. That's it. That's a reasonable estimate. So if you look at your whole numbers and you look at your decimal and your scaling tells you it's got to be smaller than my first factor or that larger factor, use a half and just say what's it going to be about, okay? Don't get caught up in you want it to be able to be done a little bit in your head so that then once you start working, you know if it's reasonable or not. We think back at the boys, they both have answers that are pretty reasonable, right? They're really close. One of them made a mistake they can use that estimate to say we're pretty close, let's go back and check our model and see what that easy mistake was, okay? All right, are there any questions for any of our presenters today or comments? I think you guys did an amazing job sharing your math thinking, okay? What strategy did they use? Did they use trade or layover? Layover. So if you pulled that off now, you'd be able to see
That's
part
how
that's
you guys
left.
checked, right? You guys pulled it off and then
Then
counted
we
it.
counted.
Right.
And it equaled 4 holes like we did before. And then we counted these, so it equaled 4 holes. Four holes. Plus the ones on top equaled 0.0 here, 0.20. And then this was 0. And then that was 0.004. So kind of adding that was hard. So,
It is hard to
so
keep track of everything,
4,
isn't it?
0, 2. So in the end we got 4 and 204 thousandths.
Okay, all right.
Well, now I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So, your favorite mistake was just their estimate.
How they
So
estimated,
yeah,
because
that's pretty much how they got it wrong. It's just they didn't get it wrong. It's just
so when they're estimating, especially when you're working with numbers that are closer to 10, okay? Do you see how many manipulatives you're getting out and how hard it is and that? So
confusing.
it can be very confusing to keep track. I'm going to show you another way to do this that's a little bit more efficient, but we want you guys to know you could build any of these models. It's really important though when you're multiplying anything, but when you're working with decimals and fractions, to have a sense in your head about how big should my product or my quotient be, because it can get very confusing because you've got decimal points or fractions or things moving around. So the idea of scaling, they said the minute they got 40, they were like, there's no way that can be right, because they knew what their estimate was. That's why Ms. James and I wanted you to estimate before you even started your builds, okay? All right, so what I'm gonna ask you to do is to get cleaned up, get a pencil and something to write on, and to get your desks cleaned up, and we're gonna end with an exit ticket today. Go collect your stuff. And then you should be ready to go. Lisa and
Here, dude. Can you put these away for us?
oh.
I stole your chair. Yeah, probably was you already. Give me all.
All right, can I have all of these? Okay.
Give me all your friends.
Can I have you?
Look at all your friends.